They say a school is only as strong as its foundation. I started to feel like that foundation was cracking. We were managing a crisis of time.
I used to think that being a good student just meant carrying a heavy backpack. But I've learned it's not about how much you carry. It's about how fast you can go when you're finally light enough to run.
I used to think that being a devoted teacher meant sacrificing everything of yourself to the job. But I've learned that you can't light the way for others if your own flame has gone out.
Before, my role felt more like a firefighter than a facilitator. The learning environment was heavy. Every lesson plan has to be built from scratch, every quiz checked by hand. We were all working at 100% capacity, yet it felt like we were standing still.
Before our school got Cerebro, studying felt like I was always trying to catch up. My desk was a total mess, piles of handouts, notebooks, and random loose papers everywhere. If I missed one day of school, or if I didn't write down exactly what the teacher said, it felt like I was buried under a mountain I couldn't climb.
I am Ma'am Jexie, and I am someone who was always tired. My daily routine wasn't about teaching. It was about managing a mountain of tasks that never seemed to end. I'd spend my lunch breaks planning, my evenings checking stacks of papers, and my weekends buried in binders. My personal time didn't really exist. It was just extra time I used to finish the paperwork I couldn't get to during the day.
It's a common story in this area. Schools here face a massive gap in resources. Technology is often seen as luxury we can't afford, or a complexity we don't have time for. Finding high quality, aligned learning materials was like searching for a needle in a haystack. My teachers were exhausted before the first bell even rang.
The hardest part was just keeping track of everything. I'd get home and realize I left a worksheet on my desk or couldn't even read my own handwriting from the lesson. Doing homework felt like a chore I was always failing at.
I loved my students, but I was starting to lose the joy of the classroom. I felt like I was giving my students the leftover version of myself.
Because of these realities, schools here need systems that are reliable, lightweight, and accessible even when conditions are not always perfect. That is when we decided that we need a helping hand. Hence, the decision to go for Cerebro.
When we first started using Cerebro, I was actually a little nervous. There was this new app, and at first, it felt like just one more thing I had to learn on top of all my subjects. I remember clicking around that first week, trying to find where my assignments were and how to pass my answers. It was definitely a big change.
I'll be honest, transitioning to a new system takes real effort. I remember those early training sessions. The long stares at the screen, the learning curve, it was a steep climb. And as an admin, you carry the weight of that choice. You have to believe in the outcome even when the process is difficult.
But that new feeling didn't last long at all. Once I got the hang of it, it just felt normal. It wasn't another thing to study, it was just the place where all my school stuff lived. That first week was a bit of a push, but it opened the door to a much easier way of being a student.
Something shifted. Looking back at those early stages, now that we've mastered the platform, it feels like we finally stepped out of the dawn. That initial effort was the best investment we ever made.
Reclaiming those hundreds of hours through Cerebro changed everything in my day to day life. It sounds small, but being able to actually eat lunch with my colleagues or getting home while the sun is still up is huge. The materials are already there and they're good. And in real terms, it means I have the mental space to actually think about how I'm teaching. Because Cerebro handles the checking and heavy lifting of content, I can spend my energy on the students who are struggling or the ones who need that extra push.
Now that I use Cerebro every day, my study habits are totally different. I don't panic about losing papers anymore because everything is right there. But it's not just about the lessons, it's actually change how things work at home too. One of the coolest things is the security. When I get to school and scan my ID at the gate, my parents would get a notification on their phones in real time letting them know that I've arrived safely. I don't have to remember to text them, and they don't have to worry. It makes the whole day feel a lot smoother. I feel way more organized now. I know exactly what I need to check off when it's due. I'm not just finishing work anymore. I'm actually learning. I have more time to ask real questions in class because the basic stuff is already sorted out for me.
If you compare the typical day now to how it was before, it's like breathing fresh air for the first time. Before, and every office process had a paper trail that slowed us down. Now, those daily friction points are just gone. We have things like gatekeeper queues now, where student attendance is tracked instantly the moment they walk in. No more manual logs or lost records. Even our library has been transformed with the OPAC system, making it so simple for students to find what they need without the old school headache of searching through cards. It's those features, the seamless transactions, that change the energy of the campus when the admin side of school happens automatically. The time we save every single day isn't just a metric on a dashboard. We've reclaimed the soul of our school by letting technology handle the chores.
So, who is Ma'am Jexie now? I'm someone who has my passion back. If I had to describe the value of the time I regained, it's not just a number, it's a feeling. I remember a moment recently where a student was really struggling with a concept. Before, I might have just given them a worksheet and moved on because I was so rushed. But now, I could sit with them, listen to their struggle, and guide them until I saw that aha moment in their eyes. I didn't become a teacher to grade papers for 5 hours a night. I became a teacher for that one student. Cerebro gave me the time to be that person again. The value of that time isn't just about rest. It's about quality. I used to think being a devoted teacher meant sacrificing everything.
I used to think being a student was just about the weight of the work.
I used to think we just needed more time.
But now I realized the best gift I can give my students is a teacher who has the time to care.
But now I realize it's about having the right tools to reach to the top.
But now, I realize we just needed a way to give the time back to the people who matter most.
And with Cerebro, I finally have that time.
And with Cerebro, I'm finally getting there.
And with Cerebro, we finally did.